Ready to elevate your credit understanding and score? With insider tips and a plan, you can take action to improving your score, which can save thousands in unnecessary finance charges. Let's tackle today's topic with your coach, Credit Christy.
Hey friends, it's Christy, your credit coach. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Today's episode is fire because the credit game just got a major rule change. And this time, it's in your favor. If you're someone who's ever felt like you're doing all the right things, but your credit still isn't good enough for the banks, then listen up. This is about you. Whether you're renting, paying your bills on time, or just starting out, the system is finally shifting to recognize you. So what just happened? The Federal Housing Finance Agency, the big boss that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that really set up the guidelines for the majority of mortgage lenders. Well, they just announced that mortgage lenders can now use something called VantageScore 4.0 instead of just FICO. Okay, that may sound super nerdy, but it's a big deal. It's a major change in the mortgage world. So let's break down what it really means. You don't have to have perfect traditional credit to be seen as creditworthy anymore. So up until now, lenders were only allowed to use the FICO scores to decide if you qualify for a mortgage as far as your credit score. Well, the problem? FICO's old school model doesn't even look at rent payments, phone bills, or utilities. And if you've got a thin credit history, like just one credit card or a student loan, FICO basically shrugs and says, not enough data. Not enough data. And you often have to have 6 months worth of payment history for it to even reflect towards your score. But VantageScore 4.0, she's different. So what makes it so different? VantageScore is like the newer, cooler kid in school who actually sees you for who you are. It looks at your rent payments, your utility bills, your cell phone payments, and how you use your credit over time, not necessarily just that snapshot that FICO takes. So about 90% of our country's top lenders use FICO scores to make lending decisions. So this change isn't going to be implemented overnight, but it is a huge, huge deal. It was originally designed by the 3 major credit consumer bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And although both models, the FICO score and the VantageScore models, they both are designed to predict a consumer's ability to repay a debt, but they do not treat all credit data equally. So a big change between FICO and VantageScore, the VantageScore model is able to create a score for consumers who are new to credit or just use credit infrequently. So those of us that just don't love having credit cards with balances, don't want any credit cards, don't borrow money, a lot of times you are credit invisible. And there are millions of people in this country that fall into that credit invisible status. Well, VantageScore might offer you a credit score where FICO wouldn't. Another big difference between the two is credit inquiries. When you apply for a new line of credit, like a credit card, a mortgage, a student loan, it can actually have a negative effect on your credit score, and it hangs out there for 2 years. So VantageScore has less of an impact to your credit score when you have multiple inquiries on your credit. And side note for you, if you are applying for, say, a mortgage or a car loan, and you go to several different banks or lenders to apply, please do that in a very short window. I recommend within 14 days, and that's when those multiple inquiries for the same purpose are treated as a single inquiry as far as the impact. Now, they'll all be listed, but they'll all fall under the impact of a single inquiry. And according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, mortgage loan inquiries, well, they actually have a 45-day window where they all fall under the impact as one single inquiry. I still recommend knocking it out in a shorter period of time. And FICO has really stepped it up to include more trending data. In other words, going back to 2 years worth of your spending and credit utilization data in its calculation. But VantageScore, they do a better job of incorporating that data that reflects patterns of behavior over time, where FICO can oftentimes just be a snapshot of what's happening right now. But if you've been demonstrating great payment and usage behavior over the last 2 years, don't you want to be rewarded for that? And that's where I believe VantageScore will have an advantage. So what does all of this mean for you? This opens doors, like literally front doors on houses. This can open up the door for millions of people who may not show up as great in their FICO scores as they could on their VantageScore. So let's say you're paying rent on time every single month. Now that can be counted. Phone bill on autopay, boom. That's a signal of responsibility and can show up on your VantageScore 4.0. If you only have one credit card and a student loan, well, VantageScore 4.0 doesn't punish you for that thin file. So this could mean the difference of, hey, we need to build some more credit or work towards obtaining a higher credit score to, here's your pre-approval. VantageScore could have a boost in your credit score high enough to qualify for your first mortgage sooner than you thought possible. So I just want to share from my heart why this matters so much, because for years, I've worked with amazing people who do everything right. They budget, they save, they pay on time, and they struggle to obtain an approval because the old credit system didn't see them in the right light. Well, it sounds like that can end now. I am ecstatic that so many more people will have an opportunity at homeownership, which is life-changing because of this new scoring mechanism. So I'm so proud of and thankful to the leaders at the Federal Housing Finance Agency for seeing how important and impactful this one change can be, not only to our mortgage industry, but to millions of people who desire to be homeowners and didn't show up properly on paper. So the doors are starting to open, not just because you've played the game, but because the rules of the game are finally being updated to include more people. So here's how you can start winning in this new scoring system. Start tracking your rent payments through apps like Rent Track, or make sure your landlord reports to the credit bureaus. If they don't, you can pay a small fee to a company like Rentler.com, and there's a few others out there that will then report it to the credit reporting bureaus. And now it's actually going to matter because of how VantageScore 4.0 utilizes that information. You can put your phone and your utilities in your name and pay them on time. And if you don't have a credit card, it might be a good idea to have a small one and use it wisely. Just small purchases on the things that you need to have in your life anyway, like gas and groceries, and pay it off monthly so you're not paying interest charges. But now this new, even smaller credit card can have a really great impact on your VantageScore 4.0 and create a credit score for you that can help you win when you go and apply for credit, such as an auto loan or your home mortgage. So if you've felt invisible or like you were always 2 steps behind when it came to credit, let me tell you something. This moment is your momentum. The world of credit is finally expanding to make room for how the current trends of credit works. So I'm very excited that FHFA has expanded their perspective to reach more people. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If this episode opens your eyes, gives you hope, or makes you excited about what's possible, share it with a friend who might need that same encouragement. And remember, credit is not your worth, but it can open doors to your future. And now more than ever, those doors just got a lot easier to unlock when it comes time to apply for a mortgage. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, my friends, stay well.
Subscribe now and share with a friend to stay in the loop for new credit content and insider tips to maximize your credit knowledge. And follow Credit Christie on Instagram.